morning and welcome to Futbol En Vivo World Cup Edition. I am your host, Eric McCoy, and I am joined by a man thrilled that Chile have yet to lose a match in the 2022 World Cup. It's David Alvarez.
Hey.
Still unbeaten.
I was just watching the replay of Spain versus Chile in the World Cup in Brazil.
Oh, just, remembering happier
bring
times,
me joy,
huh?
bring me joy.
Living in the past. That's nice.
Living in the past. All right, I am also.
It's the first time we beat the world champion and we put him out of the World Cup. So
hey, that's anyway.
Good. Yeah. You got to remember the positives at a time like this, huh? And I'm also joined by a man currently standing closer to Denzel Dumfries than any U.S. M&T player did during the round of 16 match with the Netherlands. It's Jorge Chavez.
Yeah, I think I could have done something. Sure. I think a lot of people could have done something, but
he was left a little open there.
A little bit. Yeah. I could have at least, bodied him or something, but all right. Fine.
Yeah, I think so. I trust your penalty box defending, Jorge.
Yeah, I have good perspective of where things are. So anyways.
Yeah, well, here we are. It's the World Cup edition of Futbol En Vivo. Very exciting. But before we get to the World Cup, we're gonna go very on brand here and talk a little Austin FC. We're recording this on Monday, December 12th, and there was some big news that just dropped. Literally just hours before we started recording this. Gyasi Zardes is an Austin FC player. Jorge, what do you think, man? I think it's a pretty good signing. I'm pretty excited.
I'm very excited about Gyasi Zardes. I know that forwards are, and I guess, you guys can attest to this, but they're a little critical because sometimes their first touch isn't the best. And that's something that the fan base, especially the U.S. men's national team fan base, has always complained about Gyasi Zardes, but dude scores in domestic league, and he scores for the national team. The last goal he scored was for the national team. And where did he score it? At Q2 against Qatar. So, I think it's a little unfortunate that he has that stigma about him. Yes. But I think he's going to show some people and open some eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's clearly one of Berhalter's favorites. Obviously, he didn't go to the World Cup, which I'm sure he was disappointed in, but was very successful for Berhalter at the Columbus Crew and has had good moments with the national team. And I think the Berhalter system and the Josh Wolf system, I think there's a lot of similarities there. I think what Berhalter wants, obviously Wolf was an assistant for Berhalter at the Columbus Crew, but I think what Berhalter desires from a striker and what Wolf desires from a striker are two very similar things. And definitely, I think with a guy like Zardes, I think it's not just about the goals. And obviously, as you alluded to, he does have a tendency to sometimes have a bad touch, maybe miss some chances. But really, it's about the link-up play. It's the dropping into midfield, creating those overloads, getting the wide players involved. Zardes is really good at doing all of those things. And the goals, too. I mean, if you look at it, it looks like across matches with both Columbus and Colorado last season, he had 10 goals, which would have led Austin FC. So
I think Berhalter should have taken it instead of Reina.
Well,
David,
I mean, why not? Foreshadowing there. That is a topic we will be
way more numbers, and he liked them.
I mean, if he was going to treat Reina, we'll get into it in a minute. But if he's going to treat Reina like the way he treated him, might as well have taken Gyasi, but he could have provided those same minutes. But anyways, we digress. But yeah, I kind of agree. Zardes is going to be a different type of player. Because if we compare him to the guys that we had last year, Urruti, Hosen, I guess in some ways, he's just a different player. And even Gite, I mean, he's probably the most similar to Gite, but more seasoned. With much higher competition. And so I think he's we'll see how he works out, but he knows the system. He's very familiar with the guys. He put out a couple of videos for Austin FC, and he's excited to come. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, David, 3-year deal. David, what are your thoughts? It looks like you got something to say.
I mean, Of course, I'm very late for everything, but I heard about it. I didn't know it was confirmed.
Yeah, it was confirmed.
Just confirmed.
I'm very, very happy about it, and because it's true. Basically it's a player that you say that knows the system pretty much, and also he has experience and he has scored. He played for the national team, so I mean, he's like a jewel. I think we have a jewel, and then once he gets to Q2 Stadium and with the team, he's gonna start having some yerba mate, and he's gonna get it.
As long as he gets the yerba mate,
integrate with the
team. He's gonna get the Austin spirit of yerba mate.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, I do have one question, and I want to get both of you guys' thoughts on this, but I'll start with you, Jorge. What do you think this does to the striker depth chart here at Austin FC? Because as of now, I know our last show on Club Deportes, we were speculating that Maxi Urruti might be leaving Austin FC.
Right.
As of now, he is still an Austin FC
He's still
player.
in Austin FC, yeah.
And we know, based on his reaction to not starting against LAFC, he thinks of himself as a starter.
Right.
And then we have Moussa Djitté, who is still maybe a little raw, but is a guy I think has a lot of potential. And I would like to see get more minutes going into 2023. Right. Just what do you think? We got three strikers, and I think all three of whom all feel like they should be getting minutes. It seems like there could be a potential problem there. What do you think, Jorge?
I think, and I think we, David and I kind of agree with this, because he knows the system from Greg Berhalter and obviously Josh Wolf. I think he needs to be slotted in as a starter. I know that's going to, but to me, it's a healthy competition with Urruti and with Djitté. That's just going to make those two guys even hungrier when they do have those opportunities to come in, knowing that they have a very good competition now. Whereas Urruti really didn't have that last year. I mean, he had Hosen and Djitté himself. It was his to lose, but now he's got to earn it. He's got a year under his belt. I think it's a great time for the signing now, even before the preseason and all that, so he can get acclimated to the city, get acclimated to his teammates, the ones that are still here. Some of them like Drusi's in the World Cup as a tourist, so.
Well, he doesn't know much about it. But he has been already at Q2 Stadium and he scored there, so he knows. Yeah. He already knows.
For you, David, Zardes, unquestionably, he is the starting striker for Austin FC next season.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, okay. I think we're all in agreement here, and it's important to note, Urruti, great as he was the first half of last season, really faded down the stretch, and he's a couple years older than Zardes. Zardes not particularly young; he's 31.
And it did,
but so is Zardes. He's 31 too.
I think Urruti's a couple years older than 31.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Zardes is 31. I think Urruti's 33, 34.
Yeah, something like that.
In there.
And I think honestly, it'll help Urruti extend his career. I think he'll benefit from this, in that he's going to come in as a super sub, and it's going to be situational. I think for Josh Wolf, he's going to analyze who the defense is. If they need a fast, strong guy to replace to go against the defense late in the game, that's Djitté's job. If he wants someone that's a poacher, that's gonna have a bit of a height advantage, that's Urruti. So I think it'll help both of those guys and just become a bit of a. It was a little bit lacking last year, obviously, because our midfielder was our main goal scorer. But now that we have someone that Fagundes and Urruti and Fagundes and Seba and Rigoni, now they have somebody that's a target in the middle. Both height and at the foot, it's gonna be a huge advantage.
Yeah, it could help Rigoni a ton. I mean, Rigoni, it seems like he likes sitting in crosses, and Austin FC didn't really have a true target man in that sense, and so perhaps Zardes could function as that. Okay, a couple other Austin FC signings have come through since we last spoke to our beloved audience here. Alfonso Ocampo Chavez.
Yes.
I'm assuming no relation to you, Jorge.
I'll have a little story about that in a minute. But
okay, interesting. but comes to OSFC via the Seattle Sounders. Didn't play much in MLS, mainly featured for their USL affiliate team.
Right.
He's 20 years old. This looks like one for the future. To be honest, I mean, Seattle, they have a really good academy. So I think getting a player from that academy, probably, you could do worse than that.
Yes.
And then I am not French, do not speak French. Sofiane Jafal?
Jafal, yes.
Jafal, okay. Did okay there.
Très bien, Eric.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Maybe he should have done the announcement.
But a 23-year-old midfielder from DC United, played in 28 matches last season. His defensive numbers looked really good when I checked him out on FBref. Right. Seems more like a holding defensive type midfielder as opposed to attacking midfielder. This looks like perhaps a challenge to Danny Pereira in that spot. At the very least, it's depth. Johan Valencia is also in that conversation as well. Jorge, what do you think about these two signings here?
Not very much is known about these two guys, but like you said, if he's a Seattle Sounders Academy player, then he's got to have some quality to him. So obviously we'll have to hold judgment to see how he pans out. But these two guys were definitely roster moves for depth. I don't think that there was anticipation for them moving anybody out of the starting lineup, but yeah, I mean, we did lose Manchita Corozo, so that's probably a direct replacement for the Frenchman, and we did lose Felipe Martins as well. Mm-hmm. So those two guys, it's probably a good replacement for either one of those two guys. So
I wouldn't say we lose Felipe Martin.
We never really
had him.
Use
that.
David, how distraught are you that Felipe Martins is no longer an Austin FC player? How much does it hurt your soul?
My soul?
Your soul that is shining so right happy. Above your head.
I was so happy about it. That was the best news I had.
Wow.
After the Cecilio, but the three people that never lied was Pochettino, Cecilio, and Martins. I mean, those guys.
Wow.
Some things never change, do they? Always, never miss the chance to bash Pochettino. Never misses one. Okay, so
especially now the River is coming to town,
that is interesting.
True. Very exciting.
And he's I guess his loan was not renewed by River, so the game's on the 10th of January, 18th, I can't remember. So he's not going to be with that team. So where is he going to be? It's going to be an interesting question to see where Pochettino's going to land. But Felipe Martins ended up with Orlando.
Yes. I think he had at least one fan was at the airport to greet him. So
right. Well,
I did see that. He's got one fan.
That's already. Nice. That's nice.
Surprised you didn't make it out to Orlando to say hi to him.
And another guy that left the team is Andrew Tarbell. He was signed by Houston, so we'll be seeing him a couple more times next year, but not too big losses.
I hope we can see him.
Not too big losses. That is true.
I think I'm with you, David. I think I'm with you.
Not very great losses, obviously, but this does open up an opportunity for Damian Las. I think a lot of people are excited to see what this kid can do, and now he's just basically the second goalkeeper now, so we might be able to see what he can do. He didn't play. I don't think he's played any minutes.
I don't believe so. I think it's only been Tarbell that's.
So we're basically going to get a new player in him as well. So it's exciting. I mean, the three signings, especially the Giazzi Zardes one, but not to overlook the other two guys. But so far so good. I think they address a need.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your Alfonso Ocampo Chavez story that you got?
Oh, obviously there's a connection because there's a Chavez last name. But interestingly enough, I there's no relation, just to clear that up. But I have a nephew, and his last name is Ocampo.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't told him yet that we have a new player called Ocampo Chavez. So that's going to be pretty exciting because now I have a shirt, obviously. All my jerseys. I don't usually get a jersey with a player's name on it because eventually they move on or they get accused of domestic violence or something. And so,
Always a risk.
I never,
got you. I know what you got.
I never put a player's name on my jersey. I always put Chavez, and now I don't really have to worry about it. And either does my nephew, because he's a recently converted Austin FC fan.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Well, he's gonna. I already got one fan. He's gonna be elated.
He's got a couple of fans actually. So shout out to my nephew Joseph there in El Paso. So, but yeah, so that's an interesting development for that. But I'm excited for him. He's a forward. He's a young kid. He's going to have a lot of people in front of him to learn from. I think Giaz's artist is the type of player that can be a mentor to both him and Gite, especially Gite, because he's probably a very similar type of player. And that's going to, I'm sure Urruti's very generous in his mentorship as well, but he's just not the same type of player. And so if those two young guys have good mentors in Urruti and Zardes, then all the better for all four of them.
Yes, definitely agree. Okay, let's go ahead and move away from Austin FC now and transition to discussing the World Cup. But unfortunately, we have to start with some very, very sad news that came out of the World Cup, and that is the news of the passing of Grant Wall.
Yeah,
just an absolute titan in soccer media in this country and beyond. I mean, if you were reading about soccer in the early 2000s, you were reading Grant
late
Wall.
90s,
late 90s. And even if you're reading about college basketball, you were reading Grant Wall. That famous LeBron James Sports Illustrated cover that's a Grant Wall story. Just an absolute legend in our business here. Tragically passed away in the press box of the Netherlands-Argentina match. I mean, literally, he's writing or tweeting out his thoughts on that match, and then passes away. Just brutally sad. Let's start with you, Jorge. I know you're like myself, just a massive fan of Grant Wall and his work. So, just what did he mean to you, and just what do you think he meant to the U.S. soccer community as a whole?
Oh, I mean, just the amount of appreciation that you saw on Twitter in the minutes and hours and days after the news broke, just ran the gamut of not only sports writers, soccer writers, but soccer players, both men's and women's, because he was an equal opportunity writer. He wrote
absolutely
and very passionate about both the men's and women's national teams. And for someone that is a U.S. men's national team, women's national team fan, he was basically the only source of information for a long time, up until maybe 5-6 years ago when they started to get a little more. There started to be a few more people, but it was basically him, and he helped a lot of us learn a lot of the terms, a lot of the players, a lot of the stories, and basically it incited a lot of the passion for soccer that a lot of us here in the U.S. Were able to, and not just the national team. He had a lot of fans across CONCACAF. I mean, the people from Mexican football, I think it's called Mex Foot Nation. Those who are ardent national team fans of the Eval Tri, even they were obviously a little sad because they run around the same circles. They are around the same press, but that's one thing about Grant, that he was critical. He wrote hardline stories. I mean, his last story from his personal blog, was against the corruption and some of the deaths that happened in Qatar. And there's some conspiracy theories about that as well, but we don't want to indulge in that. But he meant a lot to a lot of soccer writers, no matter which soccer team they were writing about. And it's unfortunate that he passed away the way he did. I mean, he's only 48 years old. I mean, he's 3 years younger than me. 2 years younger. He had just turned 49, I think, the day before the World Cup.
That's right. Yes.
So he's actually 49. So he was a young guy, and for him to be that age and already have 25 years of experience writing for soccer, that's that's incredible. So he leaves a strong legacy and really an example of how to treat players, how to treat sources, and how to be, how to have some integrity, because a lot of soccer, a lot of reporters nowadays want to get how was the term? They want controversy. They want clicks, clickbaiting, and they want that gotcha questions. Oh, I heard this about this and that. He wasn't that type of guy. He wasn't that type of writer. So I think we should all really aspire to be that kind of informative. He dug deep into some hard things. I mean, he was very deeply involved with the women's pay issue with the national team, and he was very, he wrote a lot, pretty strong articles about that and throughout the Qatar, honestly, a Qatar fiasco that this World Cup was from the beginning. He wrote a lot about it, so he leaves a good legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what impressed me the most with him, just as a writer, and obviously he's an incredible person. If people talk about me half as good as they talk about after I died, as they talk about Grant Wall, I mean, I would have lived a great life, because I mean, just the outpouring of emotion and respect that people had for him and admiration is just phenomenal. But as a writer, I mean, he could do the hard news stories so well, and he could also break down a match so well. It's very difficult to find someone that can do both of those things. Most people are one or the other. Either they know a ton about the game on the pitch, or they do the newsy stuff off the pitch.
Right.
Grant Wall can do both. And his book, the Beckham Experiment, if anyone hasn't read that book, highly recommend it. One of the most entertaining sports books I've ever read. I read a ton of sports books, and that's one of my favorites. A rarity in sports books in the sense that it's a real page turner. You just don't want to put it down.
You just want to keep reading it. Yeah.
But David, you've got a Grant Wall story, because we're kind of, Jorge and I, we're kind of the Futbol En Vivo 2.0 crew right here, but you're our link to the past, the Futbol En Vivo 1.0. And in Futbol En Vivo 1.0, the old co-op days, Grant Wall was actually a guest. Is that correct?
Is that correct? It was actually with Archie Bell. Actually, we say Futbol En Vivo 1.5.
1.5. Okay. I'm getting my eras confused.
Yeah. So I think Arch had him on the show on an interview on the phone live, and I know that for sure. Archie was a very good friend of him, very close. He helped him out a lot, and it was a great relationship. And it's just like when I heard the news, I was like, oh my God, what? It's like,
I couldn't believe it, right?
I was very, very shocked, because like somebody that I really admire and somebody that wasn't Futbol En Vivo, so I was like, wow. So, but not only because he wasn't Futbol En Vivo, because everything he did, and the legacy and the teachings, right? That's like so many. He's a mentor for so many people involved in soccer and journalism. So it was just a great loss. But at the same time, when you analyze, the factors, how he died, he died, you want to die sometime. Everybody's going to die. But you want to die the right way, right? You want to die doing what you love the most. And
there's a poignancy to it for sure. Died.
I mean, that's a poignant, but at the same time, when you think about, died and left, and then I was like, oh, I want to die doing what I love. And given the legacy, and it was such an important factor during the World Cup, like the fact that he came in, and
did not shy away from the controversial issue.
No, not at all.
Right.
No.
He got into that like nobody else, was so valiant. I mean, the courage to go into it directly, and he got in trouble with the Qatari government.
Yeah.
They didn't let him in. They stopped him.
I think you're referring to when he wore the rainbow shirt.
With the rainbow jersey.
Soccer ball with the rainbow.
For a bit.
That's exactly what happened. And he just confronted the situation with Qatar itself, right?
Yeah.
Head on. So kudos to him, and his legacy, what he have done for football, for the American football, and for the world football. But it's been hard, and also he has so much contact with the community. We coming to South by Southwest, the conferences in Austin, having meetings with Josh Wolf. We have been interviewing, and being part of, our community, our Austin soccer community.
Yeah,
So,
and that's one thing that's really interesting about Grant Wall is that you could have hundreds of communities across the United States that say that Grant Wall was part of their community as well.
but he was influential. I believe, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was influential in bringing soccer to Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to recall that the tweet that started it all was Grant Wall's tweet about Austin, about Columbus Crew, about Anthony Precourt moving Columbus Crew to Austin FC. That changed our three lives considerably here.
Absolutely.
And not only us three, the whole community of Austin FC. And in fact, MLS as a whole. I mean, that ignited Save the Crew, their passion, which I'll honestly have to say, very impressive how they were organized, and they fought to keep their team. And kudos to them, because that 2 years after they almost lost their team, they won the MLS Cup. And so, so that ignited that, and that ignited here what's happened here in the last 3 years since that tweet. And so, very definitely a fabric of the community of the Austin football community. Very definitely.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, just absolutely.
And one last thing, one of my most favorite articles that he wrote, interestingly enough, was exactly 5 years ago today, with the SI article that he wrote about Claudio Reyna's son Jack, who passed away years ago, and the family still, remembers Jack to this day, obviously, but the way he died and the way he wrote it, he wrote almost nothing about soccer in that article. It was mostly about the family's reaction to Jack, and if I'm allowed, that would poignant what Reyna's wife Danielle wrote, that he put down in this article. Jack was 11 and he was lying on his deathbed basically, and said, "Mom, am I going to die?" And this really got me. Then Danielle Reyna said, "Well, we all die. We just don't know when. We don't know if we're going to be young. We don't know if we're going to be old. We don't know if we'll be hit by a truck or get cancer. No one knows. It just kind of comes. When God is ready for you, he will come." So I thought that was a little on point.
Yeah.
5 years to the day that Grant Wall wrote this. I think it's going to bring a lot of comfort to a lot of people to hear the words of Danielle Reyna.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a major loss. Yeah, Grant Wall will not be forgotten anytime soon. Just did it phenomenal.
I foresee a lot of yearly sports writers awards being named after him, to be honest.
Yeah, as well they should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and transition. I know you don't want to do this stuff.
He did get an award from Ronaldo at the FIFA. So he just got an award doing the World Cup too. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he did. I do recall that. But now, David, we got to do something. I know you don't want to do this, but just real quick, you have to indulge Jorge and I, because we got to do.
I know the name Reyna sounds
US.
Yeah.
A little USMNT talk. Just real quick, Jorge, as we haven't had a chance to talk. During this World Cup, what is your overall rating for the US's performance at this World Cup?
Well, just a little note. David and I actually saw the Wales game together at Tacobas.
Okay.
It was a cold, rainy day, and we're real excited because it started off really, really well with a Tim Weah goal there against Wales, and then a little foul there by Walker Zimmerman, and a goal scored by
all went downhill pretty quickly, didn't it?
Gareth Bale, and it sort of went down from there. And I mean, there was the win against Iran. The draw against England was very impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall it went well. Some of the substitutions, and I think we all realize why some of those substitutions did not happen. Some of those substitutions could have helped had they, in retrospect, we now know why some of those didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of those were questionable, to say the least. especially against I think England. Certain players probably would have been better suited to play against England, but it just didn't happen. And the game against the Netherlands, honestly, I don't think any substitution would have helped at all. Netherlands they're just a different class.
They're a better team, right?
Yeah, they're much better team, better coached. We'll get into that as well later. But I think overall, rating the players, I think they did well under the circumstances that they played. I think they represented, the team well. And I think the fact that they're disappointed that they didn't do better is something that is new, I think, for the U.S. fan base, that everybody collectively, both the players, I think the coaching staff and the fans, expected more. And I've never felt that in U.S. soccer before. Sometimes we were just happy to leave the second round to get to the fourth game. And a lot of us were ecstatic with that fifth game against Mexico in 2002. And so a lot of us were kind of happy to get there, or happy to show up, but this team was not. They were disappointed. And I think that's a good thing going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, you have to look at it like they basically perform to expectation, like more
pretty
or less.
much.
Like when you look at how many the talent that is within this team,
right?
I think you would expect them certainly to qualify for the World Cup, and in a group with England, Wales, and Iran. I mean, Wales and Iran, tricky opponents, but teams the U.S. should be able to get results against. So you expect them to get out of that group. And then the Netherlands, I think, are, like you said, I think just a better team. I think they looked a little shaky at times in their group stage. So I think there was, going into that match, there was, maybe there could be an upset.
The U.S. started really, really well in that. The first 15 minutes.
Converts that early chance. We could have had a very different game. And you look at the overall numbers from that match, they're pretty even. I mean, essentially it came down to the Netherlands finished their chances, the U.S. didn't. But overall, I think it was, I would say 7 out of 10, C+. Basically, you performed to expectation. It is kind of how I would see it. David, any disagreement there as far as the overall U.S. performance?
Fellas, you made us proud. Get up and keep going. President Joe Biden tweeted, "Here's to a bright future." And
didn't think we were going to get a Joe Biden quote on this show, but okay.
So they will. I mean, overall, it was a great performment.
That's where you get your soccer opinions from, David. Is Joe Biden? You read his.
Joe Biden is my hero, man. He said it very clearly. He said it very clear. He's saying better than anybody. I don't want to say too many things, but.
You can't say too many things because your team didn't make the World Cup, so you can't say a whole lot.
The U.S. is my second team.
Yeah, you're allowed.
My second team is the U.S. So let me tell you this.
So to be clear, though, U.S. is your second team ahead of Mexico.
Depends.
Depends on who's winning, I guess.
It depends how many Mexicans are in the team.
Don't want to be a Mexico fan right now. They did not.
But anyway, overall, I don't care. The team did excellent for what they did with the young team, the youngest team on the World Cup, except by one. I think Cameroon was the other youngest one. But the youngest team that actually, like Joe Biden said, is going to play in 2026 is pretty much the base of the same team that we'll be playing here.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they did, and the captain, what happened with Iran. The political factor there, and how they was dealt.
Tyler Adams, he handled that situation beautifully. Okay, just
you couldn't ask for better, handling of the situation. A young kid, 23 years old, saying, "Hey, this is."
You see why he's a captain. The way he handled that.
He handled it very well. Yeah.
At the same time, I don't know how but the fact that he's the captain and the team did, I think, very good. And we don't appreciate that, but worldwide, I think the U.S. finally, reached a sort of respect that they probably never had.
That's a good point. I think globally, I think people started to recognize what the phrase I kept seeing. I saw this in The Athletic a few times. Was that the U.S. look like a club team the way they play. There's a cohesiveness, and then the players are all on the same page in the way that you don't often see at the international level, just because teams don't have as much time together. But the U.S. looked coherent and cohesive in the way they attacked. I mean, there was synchronized movements in a way that you just don't often see at this level. And I think
taking in consideration that they play for the first time, we have European-based players that actually, American.
Some very big clubs.
And that you can see that, and now we are the real giants of the CONCACAF.
Hey, that's right.
It made it further than anyone. So
yeah,
that's right.
Only one to get out of the group, technically.
Only one to get out of the group. Yeah.
Now, David, you alluded to European-based players. One European-based player that did not feature as much as many would have thought was a certain Gio Reyna. So yeah, this is kind of a weird story. I have the Athletic.
Yeah,
article.
there's a lot of angles to this.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I just looking at it, it seems like, let's see what happened. That was Gio Reyna.
Is this from Joe Biden's Twitter feed that you're reading?
It was not practiced, not even 100% in practice during the World Cup, and he got called on, and that's where and that situation, which is should be an internal communication between the players and the coach, become exposed to social media, and now it's creating a huge
firestorm
that nobody really. Come on.
It's
that's a pretty good
you just look at the news. It's like all day, like 20 news about Gio Reyna and this case. It's like, come on, man.
You couldn't get enough of it, probably. You're probably reading all those.
Yeah,
right now, I'm taking the responsibility. I'm a coach, so we just did the cut and the tryout. We had the tryout, and we have to have people in and out. So it's something that the coach really needs to do before you go to any tournament. Maybe if you go to some tournament before the World Cup, okay, you can decide that, make those sort of decisions. But I don't think you should have that problem, at all in the World Cup. But anyways,
so
that's my point of view.
I think
go ahead.
That's a very good summary of the event stuff. I guess a couple of questions that I have just in terms of this timeline is, so apparently I guess Berhalter had informed Gio Reyna that he was going to have basically a limited role at this World Cup. He was not going to be a starter. And so I wonder, I know he was carrying an injury. Is this injury related? Was this just a tactical decision? Do you prefer? I think, to be honest, Tim Weah had an outstanding World Cup, and that is kind of the guy playing in the position you would have expected Gio Reyna to be playing in.
Yeah.
And that I could see why you would maybe want to start Weah over Reyna, just because Weah gives you that verticality.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that Reyna should actually be starting ahead of Pulisic, which is on the left side, which I'm not quite sure about. Pulisic did have a very good World Cup. So
regardless, like you should be, Berhalter should be calling Sardes, or should be calling Pepe.
Well, that's it. The U.S. have three very good wingers and for two spots, and then no very good strikers is kind of the problem. But in terms of the events, it's okay. If that's Berhalter's decision, I think Reyna kind of has to just honor that. He's not the only good player at this World Cup that's not starting because there's too many good players in the position he plays. And I think that, the way he handled it, kind of just sulking, it sounds like, during that friendly match, and not putting forth effort. It sounded like Aaron Long, DeAndre Yedlin pulled him aside and told him, "Hey, man, that's not how you should be acting." Reyna apologized for it. Seems like that should have been.
It should have been over.
More or less the end of it.
Yeah.
Then Berhalter, very oddly, at a conference. Now, I read this. I literally just read this before we started recording on The Athletic. He was speaking at what is called the Howe Institute for Society's Summit on Moral Leadership. Very long title there.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that is. David,
whatever that is.
Do you know what that is?
Oh, that's a scary name.
It's a very, very.
It sounds like a more police.
Apparently, U.S. soccer.
Iranian more police.
It sounds Illuminati-ish to be honest. But
so as Berhalter
Mason, a little Masony, but sure, okay.
Yeah, as Berhalter is speaking at this event, he basically details exactly what we've just said. He talks about he had a player that wasn't putting forth the effort, said he was going to have a limited role, and it's kind of sulked. And kind of, I guess this was him explaining how he's a excellent moral leader or something. I guess this was Berhalter's example of moral leadership. Apparently, this, I guess, just came out. This was an update to the story. U.S. Soccer said the summit that Berhalter participated in was explicitly supposed to be off record. So I'm guessing Berhalter was under the assumption that this wouldn't leak out to the media. To me, you just gotta always assume if you're speaking,
you gotta always assume someone's recording it.
It's gonna come
and
out.
It's gonna leak it out somewhere if it's juicy.
Jorge, what's your take on the whole situation?
He should not have said that. He should not have said that. I think he was trying to cover his butt by saying a certain player, but
come on, man, we all just watched the World Cup.
The U.S. soccer fandom, when this leaked out, they knew exactly immediately who.
You're not talking about Joe Scally.
No, we're not talking about Joe Scally or Cameron Carter-Vickers somewhere. No. We knew exactly who he was talking about because the fan base was clamoring for Gio Reyna to get into a game to be a starter, and when it didn't happen, game after game after game, we thought something's up. Either he's injured, and then the first game, Berhalter said, he's not 100%. Immediately after the game, Gio Reyna, I'm 100%. So that immediately threw a wrench into the arguments and to the speculation of what's going on. And obviously, we now know what's going on. And to me, I mean, I guess David alluded to this a little bit. You don't do that. You don't, if you're not going to use a player, don't tell them the day before the game.
Yeah.
Tell them you should have told him
practice
when he chose the roster. Even say, you know what, I'm going to choose you, but I don't know how I'm going to use you. So don't get your expectations up. Not lead him to believe up until the eve of the Wales game, where let's be honest, players, especially of his caliber and his notoriety, are a little egotistical. They think maybe they think a little highly of themselves. Maybe they have, my dad's Claudio Reyna. Yeah. Everybody's talking about that. I'm the golden boy and I'm only 20. I'm going to start. That's your assumption because you're a 20-year-old kid. You don't know how the world works yet. But so you go in expecting to be the starter against Wales. And then, the coach, by the way, you're going to have a limited role. First of all, it apparently wasn't explained to him what a limited role was.
Yeah, that could mean a lot of things.
Yeah,
right?
Limited role could be a lot of things. Not used at all. You're just basically a practice player, or you're the first guy out, the first super sub. What's limited? That wasn't explained. But to have told him that before the game, that just wrecked the whole World Cup for him. And he didn't like it. I mean, he basically he's been injured. I remember when he got injured against Borussia, the tears, the pain he felt when he took himself out of that game. Not because he was going to miss that game, because he knew he had hamstring problems. It sounded like a hamstring problem. Just the pain that he thought maybe he was going to miss the World Cup. That's the kind of player the U.S. wants and needs on the field. And to sort of cut that off just before the start of the tournament,
that sounds like what
must have been demoralizing. Yes, that's what Tata Martino did for the whole team.
Mexico.
Yeah, that's what he did for the whole team. And so, not bringing Lainez and Santi Jimenez and
Jimenez, not bringing Chicharito.
What a concept! Playing your best players. It's
odd, weird, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I again, like I kind of mentioned, I mean, viewed through a certain lens. I mean, Reyna is as talented as anyone on that team. And I feel like you kind of have to play him, but also you can't bench Pulisic, and I think Weah gives you something that just no one else really gives you. So I can kind of understand not starting him, but he's got to be the first guy off the bench. And if you're going to do that, like you said, Reyna, justifiably so. Yeah, he's got a bit of an ego. Yeah, he's a great player. Most great players have a bit of an ego. And you have to make that very clear as early as possible, that he's not going to start in the World Cup, and make sure he's still on board. Get him on board as a super sub if you're going with Pulisic and Weah as your wingers. but doesn't sound like that happened. And then, yeah, the idea of then using it as an example on your moral leadership immediately after the tournament is just insane. I just overall big picture on Berhalter, I think before this story, I was kind of on the fence as to whether or not I wanted him to continue. I said, like I said before, I think they basically achieved exactly what you would have expected them to achieve based on their talent. I do credit Berhalter with getting them to play like a club side and having them look like they have a coherent strategy in all of their games. But to me, going forward, as someone who's on the fence of whether or not the U.S. should retain Berhalter, him having just a potentially broken relationship with the player who could be the U.S.'s best player in 2026, to me, that's reason enough to say, let's get this guy out of here. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Let me just
go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I mean, let's get out of. I mean, as I say earlier, like today that happened. The situation happened to me. Like today, yesterday, and today, I had to do that. We have a kid that he think he was the star of the world. He didn't make the varsity team, but he made the JVA team, right? But he came with a bad attitude already. It was late. He didn't take it seriously, right? And I was like, well, this kid has some potential. You know, he's skillful. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good, decent, and skillful player with a lot of potential. But if you're gonna have that attitude, say disrespectful. I mean, if you're gonna be disrespectful from the first moment, I don't want you in my team. Why am I gonna have somebody that's not gonna put the effort and it doesn't take it seriously? I told him, I mean, thank you, but thank you. I don't want to see you. So I think that's one thing. And I
don't think Reina is completely innocent in this situation.
Yeah, I don't know if he's innocent or not, but I'm just saying that that's the way I should be approached by a coach. And then the second thing is like, you never, bring out about this internal situation to the media. Like nowadays.
Well, technically not to the media, but in a
you
public
have to be.
forum.
I was earlier. We're thinking about we really like the main thing that today coaches need to worry about, coaches and teams, is the media used by the players. I mean, so how many times do we have a problem with players using the media, in the wrong way and then creating huge problems? We should not have
pesky media folks.
We should not be having a coach creating this situation, So I'm right with you, Eric. I mean, you should not be coaching anymore. If you're gonna do this, I mean, what kind of example are you giving?
And it's interesting. Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because Gio Reyna came out with a statement, I guess, on Instagram, basically alluding to that he thought the matter was handled in-house, and he was disappointed that the coaching staff, he didn't say Berhalter directly, but we know who they're talking about, that it was taken outside of the locker room. Yeah. And that's I agree with Gio on that. If it was already handled, no matter if you're trying to be anonymous or you think you're in your safe area that nobody's going to leak anything out, dude, we're in the 21st century. Everything's going to get leaked out eventually. Somebody's has every phone has a recorder somewhere, and it's going to leak stuff out.
Everything.
So what did you expect? I mean, what did Greg expect? And so I think that's going to be a big factor because prior to this stuff coming out, U.S. Soccer is actually considering bringing him back for a second cycle. Personally, I don't like to have coaches in two cycles of a World Cup, just because I think each team needs a fresh perspective on things, especially if they didn't.
But it has to do with it.
I mean, especially if they didn't, especially if they didn't achieve their goals, or if they did achieve their goals, but they want to go a little further. Greg Berhalter has taken this team as far as he can. It's time for somebody new, and this issue, a little bit of a revolt from one of your better players that's going to be an important part of the future. It's not gonna look good for him, and so he.
Again, I mean, it shows all the bad decisions of not bringing Pepe, for example. Like, why bring another player if you don't like this guy? I mean, who are you afraid of?
Yeah, that is a very good point because when Josh Sargent got injured, I mean, the U.S. were very thin at
Yeah.
striker all of a sudden when it just Jesus Ferreira, who was terrible.
Oh, he was awful.
He was
Oh,
so
poor
bad.
kid.
Yeah,
He
I feel
was-
bad. But I generally
yeah.
like Jesus Ferreira, but man, it was not a good.
No, it was not a good tournament for him.
Yeah, and
so
then Haji
it-
Wright, I'm kind of surprised why he was.
19
brought
Yeah,
home.
so
not
that
talking about the
was
World Cup.
surprising. We never really got into the nitty gritty of the roster decisions, but Haji Wright over Pepe, I don't know. I that was very surprising.
Yeah.
They were very, very, very surprising to me
Yeah.
that happened.
Hey,
But
that,
and
that
another one,
things happen.
another one, Sean Johnson over Zach Steffen. That was another one that was kind of odd. Other than that, it was fine. It was good.
Yeah,
but
mostly.
in retrospect, I mean, not knowing how bad of a tournament Jesus Ferreira was going to have, they could have used an infusion of Ricardo Pepi.
Yeah, I will say, like, Jesus Ferreira was awful in the same way he was awful for FC Dallas against Austin FC in the playoffs. It was the same kind of performance.
Yeah,
And I feel like
kinda,
that was the kind of performances he was giving.
He
So
was carrying that
he had
funk.
18 goals this year. He had a very good season.
Yeah.
But something towards the end, the guy just lost his form. I don't know what it was, but you could see that performance coming. Like, I was not expecting him to have a good match whenever he was named as a starter. Go ahead, Or.
No, and on the other hand, Pepe for the last couple of games at Groningen, he was killing it.
Been on fire.
He was all sorts of goals and assists, and just I think obviously was probably motivating him was to be considered for the World Cup, for it to be an uncontroversial pick to get him, even though he hadn't performed for the national team for a while. Yep. But he was in form. He was in very good form coming up to the roster decision. And when that came down, that must have been very disappointing for him.
Yeah, I read about it. I read the article of Pepe.
Yeah,
Pepe talking about that disappointment because he thought he had done everything he could.
Yeah,
to make
everything that was asked of them, basically.
And he was doing better, in the new team, and well, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, Jesus, man, that happened. Like tomorrow.
Hey, okay, great.
Yeah, great segue.
Because we're actually surprise. We're running a little short on time here.
You're kidding.
Because we let's three, man. We always got a lot to say about everything. So let's get to the World Cup. David, I know you've got a lot to say. Just whatever you want to talk about, just go for it, man. We're gonna let you cook here, and we'll just play off of you. Whatever you got to say.
Well, I got to say about the World Cup is that there has been a great time to watch so much football. I watch almost every single game.
Same here, man. Same here.
Every highlight. I woke up at 4:30 to watch Argentina, Saudi Arabia.
Wow, even that one, huh?
Yeah, I saw those goals. I was like live. I was like, what? So many exciting games that we have. The Brazil elimination.
Do you have a favorite game of the tournament so far?
The game of the tournament?
Yeah. What was your favorite game so far?
I mean, so far it's the Netherlands, Argentina. The most emotional.
Yeah, that was exciting.
A goal in the last minute, oh my God, that was just like back and forth. The
chippiness and fouls.
The game that was played between the benches.
Yeah.
Yes. Literally a ball fired into the bench.
Yeah,
that's I understand people getting very excited about what happened, but geez, we see that everything and worse in the Copa Libertadores, man.
Oh yeah, that's basically a South American tournament. That happens all the time. So Argentina, most of their players play in South America. So they're used to playing that way and getting in the team's head. And I mean there was that famous photo of when Argentina won the penalty kick of them mocking the Netherlands bench and they're all sad. Please, that was just one part. The time before they were getting in Messi's way and talking to him and shouting at him before he took the shot. So both sides did a lot of jawing.
Absolutely. I think we're all in agreement on this issue. Do you guys have a problem with that little taunting, I guess, that went on between Argentina towards the Netherlands after that?
It's nothing.
not
It's
at
like
all.
that. It's the way we're used to it all the time. It's like that's come on, man.
Now, it did go a little bit too far. Even after the game, like when Messi was shouting at the Netherlands player to get away from him.
I have to say,
it was a little much, but
I have to say that it was too much. It was the Uruguayan reaction. Like the Uruguayans' reaction.
Yeah, that was bad.
I saw them
that was bad. Cavani. Oh my God. All of them really.
Muslera. I saw Muslera hitting somebody. I said, what? He was Muslera.
Pushing the referees around.
That was way worse.
I mean, I know it's an upsetting loss and all that, but come on.
No. Those guys need to be punished.
Okay, what do you guys think about this? With Suarez, whenever he was crying, it looked like he was basically crying when there was still about 20 minutes to go in the match because he had found out that South Korea had scored in the other game that would put South Korea through and Uruguay out. I mean, to me, that's just he's one of the leaders on the team, and he's over there, got his face in his shirt. Whenever
the body language, the body language was bad for Suarez.
Because a lot of things that's happening, I don't know, we have so much time to talk about it, but I've been very excited about my favorite thing about football is penalty kicks.
Really?
There's been a lot of them.
It's the essence, for me, is the essence of football. If you don't know how to do penalty kicks in a World Cup, go play cricket or something, man.
Now, this is a slightly controversial take because there's a lot of people that don't care for penalty kicks and want to see a different solution.
I hate them because they're exciting. I hate them.
It's too much
because I just can't watch because it's just so life and death at that
moment.
Even
if I don't care who wins, it still just fills me with anxiety.
But that's the exciting part of it. I agree with David completely.
Before during the Argentina and Netherlands game, I said it. Like, this is the moment of truth. Now, I mean, even though the Dutch can tie Argentina, the only thing Argentina needs to do is win in penalty kicks. And I said that before the 2-2.
They've got a heck of a goalkeeper for stopping penalties. Martinez he's very good at that.
Yeah.
And I mean, because really penalty kicks are never something of luck. Like,
no, it's skill. It's a lot of skill. And
I love that you say that.
Kick the ball with the left, with the right, what kind of power, what kind of side. The same thing for the goalie, and
the mind games,
and for the fans,
and
huge factor too.
Yeah, just the mind games that go on between the goalkeeper and the penalty kicker.
It's just, and
then the goalkeepers are pointing and hawk jawing with them, and that's
90% of the time when the player is missing, you can see on his face that's gonna miss.
I agree. Yes.
It's either like when the young kid for Argentina missed, everybody knew he was going to miss, right?
Well, how about Harry Kane?
Harry Kane, though.
That second penalty.
The second penalty for Kane, same thing. The short run. You cannot do a short run. That was
he took it it was too short. Exactly.
No way.
He needed a full run.
If only Harry Kane had listened to Futbol En Vivo before that France match, it could be England still alive right now.
Yeah, you don't want to walk up and you don't want to walk up to a ball to hit a penalty kick. You want as much power and direction as you can get.
Yeah, that's correct. But also, you got to think about, you need to be ready. Like, you cannot say like Spain. The Spanish coach said that he practiced fouls and penalties, but he missed 3. The only ones that he needed to put. But not only that, but he was writing on a sticky note at the last moment who was going to take the penalty.
No, you study this stuff.
You got to
study this stuff.
Do you see? Oh my God. I was like, and then the Japanese penalties were a classic, horrible penalty. How not to take a penalty along with the Croatian player that also put it on the corner. All bad runs. No, I mean, it's been so much fun.
But the other side of that is the Moroccan team. They are that's an exciting team. I think they brought a lot of life to this World Cup. The penalties that they have taken. I mean, Buono, my God, what a goalkeeper.
He's great.
He knows exactly what the strikers are going to do. he was amazing. And
But
so
I gotta tell you, all the goalies that I mean, we have so many good goalies in this tournament. I mean, not only Bono, but we have the Croatian goalie, the Saudi Arabian goalie against Mexico. He saved everything.
Yeah,
18
he
shots.
saved a lot of shots.
Like that, which is crazy. So we have a lot of really good goals. And
even Matt Turner. I mean, the goal that Bale scored, he got a hand on that. Just a split second more, he would have stopped it. And we might be talking a different tournament here for the U.S. But so yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And you see for Mexico, I mean, the goal that the save by the shot by the Lewandowski shot.
Lewandowski shot on, yeah.
It was an amazing. I mean, so yeah, for me, I've been having a lot of fun looking at that and say, hey, this guy's gonna miss, this guy's gonna put it in.
Yeah,
you know, that, it's like it's gonna keep happening, and it was weird, no, because like some of my friends that were doing the bracket and everything, and they're like, oh, I hate penalty. They do like all this throughout.
No, this is
most people will say that. I'm with you though. I think it's a lot of drama. And it is skill. And I think actually we should start advertising you, David, as a penalty kick expert. I think that could help us get views. We have the world's foremost expert on penalty kicks on the show. Okay, we are just about out of time here, but I want to get some predictions. Yeah. I don't think we'll have a chance to record before the final. So I'm just going to ask you, who wins this whole thing?
Argentina.
Okay, David, you jumped in. Argentina for you, Jorge?
Argentina. Yeah, Argentina. I think Messi finally has the team that he always needed to get over the hump.
Who do they beat in the final?
And I think Croatia. Alvarez is going to be France.
In the final.
In the final. France and Argentina in the final. It's going to be pretty close.
Oh man, France Argentina would be a dream. But
I really hope
secretly, the little teeny tiny corner of my heart, I would love to have Morocco on the final.
But
even if they're going to be destroyed by Argentina or whatever, but
no, it's not going to be destroyed. But they're going to be all close games. I think all of
they're all going to be.
And I think the France-Argentina game is going to end up in penalty kicks too. So it's going to be penalty. So that's my prediction.
I'm going to go different, and I'm going to go Argentina, France, and I'm going to go France winning.
You're going to go France.
I will say though, I'm a little worried about France against Morocco. I think that's a really good team. That team is no joke. Like they are legitimately very good.
I mean, they have so many. They have two injured guys from Bayern Munich and PSG, I believe, and they were injured, and they still without them. They brought some new kids, one from Morocco and another one, and they did a good job too. And against Portugal, so they didn't. Even they have a good backups, you know. So that's why a team needs to go at this level. To be at this level, you need to have a deep bench.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, hey guys, it's been fun. Futbol En Vivo World Cup edition, a blast. Hopefully Club Deportes is going to be getting this video posted for everyone. Thank you to Club Deportes for doing that. Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. We'll probably get together and recap the whole thing soon. So be watching the Club Deportes feed. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Thanks.